Hello and welcome to the Central Television. I am Lekan Onabanjo. Here are the stories making headlines beyond the continent. We start by telling you that audio has emerged of a first responder call as officials halted traffic on both sides of the Francis Scott Key Bridge moments before it collapsed. The cargo ship had issued a mayday call to alert authorities it had lost power before it collided with the Baltimore Bridge on Tuesday morning. Following the call, Maryland Transportation Authority Police Dispatch and response officials acted swiftly, shutting down the north and south sides of the bridge. In the audio, one official instructs, and I quote, "Hold all traffic on the Key Bridge. There is a ship approaching that has just lost its steering. So until we get that under control, we've got to stop all traffic." End of quote. And joining us now to give us the latest updates to this story is our international correspondent, Afua Hagan. Afua, we heard that 6 workers have been presumed dead as recovery efforts continue. So what more should we know regarding the Baltimore bridge collapse?
Well, yeah, 6 people, well, actually 8 people entered the water during that terrible incident. 2 people were pulled out of the water, and 6 remaining people were presumed dead. Now, 2 of those people have been identified so far, and their names are, the first person that has been identified is Miguel Luna. He's of El Salvadorian descent. He was one of the construction workers that was on the bridge. And the other one is Maynor Sandoval, a Honduran citizen. There's also reports in Honduran newspapers, as well as newspapers across Guatemala and Mexico, that some of their citizens perhaps make up the other 4 people that were doing construction work on the bridge. Now, there was no actual fault with the bridge. They were doing construction work on the road, so filling in potholes. So those 2 people have been recovered so far. Now, it's thought that because of the temperature of the water between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold, combined with the air temperature, means that anybody who entered the water in that time of the morning, this was about 1:30 a.m., couldn't have survived more than 2 or 3 hours. And that's why now this is a rescue operation to at least bring the bodies home to their families.
Okay, so let's look at other nationals that were said to have been involved in that accident. Any details as to which country and if the countries have been communicated with regarding those who might have lost their lives?
Well, like I said, it's thought that they are from the Honduran, Guatemalan, and Mexican communities. So immigrant communities, it's thought that these particular men working in this job were all about sending money home to their families. So those reports have been communicated in newspapers in those countries and amongst the local communities as well. There's a local community group called CASA, and the executive director said about one of the people that has been identified, Miguel Luna, said that he was a husband, a father of 3, and has called Maryland his home for over 19 years. Another 2 men are confirmed as being Guatemalan nationals from their own Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they make up the countries of El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. That's thought to be the nationalities of the 6 people who we are now recovering the bodies of from the water.
Okay, so has the ship and its debris been evacuated from the waters?
Well, at the moment, it's a rescue operation to try and bring the bodies home. And until they do that, they cannot move this huge structure from in the water. So it still remains there at the moment. The bridge collapse, a 1.6-mile long bridge collapse, all the pieces from that remain in the water as well. Like I said, supremely challenging conditions, very cold water. It's been raining on and off all day and very cold air temperatures. So at the moment, the focus is on finding those bodies. And after that, then it will be about recovering the ship. The black box recorder, however, from the ship has been found, very much like an airplane. These huge vessels do have a black box recorder that records everything that happens on the ship in real time, and that will certainly help investigators figure out what made this vessel crash into the bridge.
All right, so doesn't this accident feel a feeling that the maritime shipping along that coastal line is unsafe?
Not particularly, no, because this is a very rare incident, and these things don't happen all the time. So it doesn't necessarily fuel that. What it does fuel the theory that something went very wrong with this particular ship. And if we look at those perhaps what the theories are, like I said, the black box recorder has been recovered. And that will pretty much tell us everything that happened in those final moments leading up to about 1:30 in the morning. But it's thought that there was a loss of propulsion as it was leaving Baltimore Harbor. Videos from the incident show the lights on the ship flickering on and off a couple of times before it careers into the bridge and makes impact. So it's thought that it was a loss of control that happened. Now, the crew on the ship who were unhurt were very experienced. I mean, this ship was commissioned by Maersk, a Danish shipping company, and it was a very, very experienced crew on board that ship, used to dealing with this particular harbor and navigating this kind of bridge. So it doesn't fuel the theory that this is an unsafe shipping port, but it does fuel the theory that something went very wrong with this particular ship.
All right, Afua, Hagan, thank you so much for talking to us. Let's now head to South America, where Colombia's military has launched an offensive in the southwest following a partial truce suspension with the Central General Staff rebel group. The commander of military forces, Helder Geraldo, said the operation resulted in arrests, deaths, and recovery of minors forcibly recruited by criminal organizations.
Que hay una acción persistente de parte de las fuerzas militares contra el Estado Mayor Central, no solo en la confrontación directa en los tres departamentos, sino también cuando necesidad de intervención del ejército se produce una confrontación, el ejército ha sostenido igualmente esos enfrentamientos con el Estado Mayor Central. Las acciones que tienen que desarrollarse contra la minería ilegal, contra el narcotráfico, que se siguen incrementando y que consideramos en la medida en que sean más contundentes, han tenido resultados importantes, pero en la medida en que sean más contundentes, debilitan a estas organizaciones.
Peruvian prosecutors raided two houses of former President Martin Vizcarra as part of an investigation into his alleged links to the untouchables of corruption, a network that received bribes for jobs and contracts. The public ministry indicated on its social media handle that the operations were carried out simultaneously in the regions of Lima and Moquegua in the south of the country as part of investigations carried out against Martin Vizcarra and Eduardo Trujillo, the former Minister of Transportation, after the raid on his residence in the San Isidro neighborhood of Lima. Vizcarra, at a press conference, said he strongly and categorically rejects being part of a criminal act.
Como he manifestado, quiero apoyar en todo a la Fiscalía. Y hoy día a las 3:20 han ingresado a mi domicilio, han revisado absolutamente todo.
Yo no he encontrado nada. Es inocente, sigue siendo
absolutamente rechazo enérgica y categóricamente que yo sea parte de un hecho delictivo.
Hay
en absoluto.
Detenidas.
We now take it to Europe, where at least 5 people have been killed and others injured in a motorway crash involving a coach near the eastern German city of Leipzig. The Flixbus coach veered to the right on the busy A9 Autobahn before falling onto its side. The company confirmed the coach had left Berlin with 2 drivers and 53 passengers and was on its way to Nuremberg en route to Zurich. The company said the accident had happened at around 10 a.m., that's about 9 GMT, on the A9, the north-south motorway from Berlin to Munich. The 107 capacity service bus was 2 hours into its southbound journey at the time of the crash at a junction near Leipzig-Halle Airport to the northwest of the city. And away from that, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba is demanding the immediate delivery of air defense systems in an online briefing in order to prevent more Russian ballistic missile strikes. Ukraine has been forced into the defensive in the past few months as it struggles with ammunition shortages and delays to a $60 billion aid package from Washington.
To protect. Russia escalated its air terror against Ukraine. It launched 190 missiles of various types, 140 Shahed drones, and 700 guided aerial bombs against Ukraine in just 1 week, from March 18th to 24th. These strikes targeted energy facilities, critical infrastructure, and civilians, resulting in significant casualties and damage, as well as power outages in entire cities. What distinguishes current Russian attacks is the extensive use of ballistic missiles. As we speak, just some minutes ago, there was another ballistic missile attack on the city of Mykolaiv, and the time gap between the air raid siren and the factual strike, which is the moment when the missile hits the target, was only a couple of minutes. So it poses extreme hazard to human life.
And I'll tell you that President Emmanuel Macron has assured Brazil of France's support in its efforts to construct nuclear-powered submarines, but it did not specifically mention the specific cooperation on nuclear propulsion technology that Brasilia has sought for. Macron was speaking on Wednesday during a ceremony to launch Brazil's third French-designed submarine, which will help secure the country's long coastline, dubbed the Blue Amazon. The construction of the submarines was outlined in a 2008 deal between Lula and then French President Nicolas Sarkozy, which also included the purchase of 50 Caracal helicopters.
Je souhaite que nous ouvrions le chapitre, évidemment, pour de nouveaux sous-marins. Quatrième, le cinquième, mais comme vous l'avez dit à l'instant, les uns et les autres, que nous regardions en face la propulsion nucléaire en étant parfaitement respectueux de tous les engagements les plus rigoureux de non-prolifération. Ce cadre existe et possible. Vous le voulez, la France sera à vos côtés.
You're watching Beyond the Continent on New Central Television. We still have more stories for you, but that will be after this break. We'll now take you to Asia, where 6 senior Pakistani judges have accused the country's powerful spy agency of interfering in judicial matters and using intimidatory tactics such as secret surveillance and even abduction and torture of their family members. In a letter dated March 25 but made public on Tuesday evening, the 6 judges of the Islamabad High Court in the capital urged the Supreme Judicial Council to look into the allegations against officials belonging to the Inter-Services Intelligence, the Pakistani military's premier intelligence agency. The Supreme Council consists of Pakistan's Chief Justice and 4 other top judges, 2 each from the Supreme Court and High Courts, and is the country's judicial watchdog. Former South Korean Justice Minister and leader of the Rebuilding Korea Party, Cho Kuk, says he aims to crack the system of President Yoon Suk Yeol's government and neutralize him politically in upcoming parliamentary elections. Cho Kuk, a former aide to ex-president Moon Jae-in, was once considered a rising political star who was expected to run to succeed his boss when he was named to lead the powerful Justice Ministry in 2019. But soon after the appointment, he was engulfed in allegations of favoritism and hypocrisy over his children's schooling and was sentenced to 2 years in prison for falsifying the academic documents of his children in 2023.
첫 번째는 레임덕을 만들 수 있고 그 다음에 데드덕으로 만들 수 있다고 생각이 듭니다. 그 사람의 임기가 3년의 임기가 다 지켜질지 안 지켜질지는 모르겠으나 정치적으로 무력화시키는 것이 목표이고 그것이 최종적으로 탄핵이 될지 안 될지는 알 수가 없습니다. 200석은 탄핵은 전제조건 200석 아닙니까? 200석을 얻지 못한다고 하더라도 제1당이 민주당과 조국혁신당이 상당한 수를 확보하게 된다면 저는 윤석열 정권의 윤석열 정권 체제에 균열을 낼 수 있다고 생각합니다.
Now to the Middle East, where we understand that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he thinks the bad thing about the U.S. decision in the United Nations Security Council was that it encouraged Hamas to take a hard line during a meeting in Jerusalem with U.S. Senator Rick Scott. In the meantime, medics attended to Palestinians wounded as they attempted to obtain airdrop aid east of Gaza City, while others have been transported to the Al-Ali Arab Hospital following Israeli bombardment on the northern Gaza Strip.
I think the bad thing about the U.S. decision in the United Nations Security Council was that it encouraged Hamas to take a hard line and to believe that international pressure will prevent Israel from freeing the hostages and destroying Hamas. And that, therefore, my decision not to send the delegation to Washington in the wake of that resolution was a message to Hamas. It was a message first and foremost to Hamas. Don't bet on this pressure, it's not going to work. And I hope they got the message.
We'll go on another short break. When we return, we'll bring you the rest of the stories. Don't go away. Even as we look at the rest of the stories, India has strongly objected to remarks made by the United States and Germany on the arrest of key opposition leader and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal a month before its national election. India's foreign ministry on Wednesday said India's legal processes are based on an independent judiciary which is committed to objective and timely outcomes. Casting aspersions on that is unwarranted. Kejriwal was arrested by India's main financial investigation agency last week on corruption charges. His Aam Aadmi Party, known as the Common Man's Party or AAP, which governs the National Capital Territory and the northern state of Punjab, denies the allegation, calling it a fabricated case. In the meantime, Myanmar's junta held its annual military parade in the capital, Naypyidaw, in a show of force as it struggles to contain a growing armed resistance that has captured broad swaths of territory. Junta Chief Min Aung Hlaing inspected troops during the Armed Forces Day Parade, which commemorates the start of local resistance to the Japanese occupation during World War II. The parade is usually held on the morning with the junta's top general, Min Aung Hlaing, in attendance, but this year it got underway in the early evening. A bit of sports now. World number one Novak Djokovic has announced that he's set to part ways with his coach Goran Ivanisevic, ending a 5-year association which yielded 12 Grand Slams. Ivanisevic, who claimed the singles title at Wimbledon in 2001 after finishing runner-up in 1992, 1994 and 1998, joined Djokovic's team in 2019 and helped the Serb win 9 Grand Slam titles. And although the Serbian admitted their on-court chemistry had its ups and downs, it also resulted in huge success. The Serbian tennis legend made the announcement via social media, where he stated his love for his former coach despite their on-court differences. He then went ahead to give him his best wishes on all his future endeavor. Chelsea midfielder Romeo Lavia is set to miss the rest of the 2023-2024 football campaign following a setback in his recovery. In a statement on the club's website, the Blues confirmed his absence, stating that recent medical assessments have confirmed that Lavia, who sustained a significant thigh injury against Crystal Palace back in December, will indeed miss the rest of the season. The 20-year-old central defensive midfielder has only been able to register 32 minutes of action for Chelsea this season after his summer transfer move from Southampton worth £58 million. The Man City Academy graduate has also suffered from fitness issues, an ankle injury and a muscle tear, which have all limited his playing time. And that's all on Beyond the Continent. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And you can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.